the entire history of Darth Vader. Some stories define generations. Some characters transcend their fictional origins to become cultural touchstones, symbols that represent the eternal struggle between good and evil, hope and despair, redemption and damnation. The story of Darth Vader is one such tale. From the desert sands of Tatooine to the cold vacuum of space, from innocent child to the galaxy's most feared enforcer, and finally to redeemed father. The journey of Anakin Skywalker stands as one of the most complete and compelling character arcs ever told. This is the entire history of Darth Vader. Every moment, every choice, every tragedy that shaped the man inside the mask. The child of prophecy. The twin sons of Tatooine beat down mercilessly on the desert world that served as home to smugglers, moisture farmers, and those seeking to disappear from the wider galaxy. In this harsh environment, in the slave quarters of Mos Espa, a child was born under circumstances that defied explanation. Shmi Skywalker, a slave woman with kind eyes and an unbreakable spirit, gave birth to a son. There was no father. She carried him, gave birth to him, raised him. The conception itself remained a mystery that even she could not explain. The boy was named Anakin. From his earliest memories, Anakin knew only slavery. Before his time with Watto, the Toydarian junk dealer, he and his mother belonged to Gardulla the Hutt, a cruel Hutt crime lord whose treatment of her slaves left scars that went deeper than the skin. Gardulla operated from a palace outside Mos Espa, and the stories that filtered through the slave quarters spoke of a master whose cruelty was legendary, even among the Hutts. For a young child, these years formed the foundation of understanding what it meant to be powerless, to be property, to have your life dictated entirely by the whims of another. When Gardulla lost Anakin and Shmi in a bet to Watto, their circumstances improved marginally. Watto was a different kind of master. The blue-skinned Toydarian who owned a junk shop in Mos Espa was driven by profit rather than sadism. He was cunning, shrewd in business, and recognized talent when he saw it. In young Anakin, he saw a mind for mechanics that surpassed most adults. The boy could fix anything: pod racers, moisture evaporators, protocol droids, even the delicate circuitry of astromech units. His small fingers were nimble. His instincts for how machines worked seemed almost supernatural. Watto gave them relative freedom. They had a modest home, a small hovel on the outskirts of Mos Espa, where Shmi kept their space clean and tried to create something resembling normalcy for her son. Anakin was allowed to come and go from the shop with some independence, though he never forgot the slave transmitter buried beneath his skin, ready to detonate if he tried to escape beyond the allowed boundaries. He and his mother both wore these devices, invisible chains that kept them tethered to their owner's will. The boy spent his days in Watto's shop, cleaning, repairing, and gradually being trusted with more complex work. But in his spare time, in the small workshop space Watto allowed him to use, Anakin poured his energy into building. He constructed a protocol droid from scrap parts, piecing together C-3PO to help his mother with her work. The droid was incomplete, lacking proper plating, but it functioned. It walked, talked, and assisted Shmi with translations and calculations. For a child working with discarded junk, the achievement was remarkable. Even more impressive was the pod racer. Pod racing was Tatooine's most popular sport and most deadly pastime. Twin, massive engines linked to a small cockpit by flexible energy binders, screaming through canyons and across dunes at speeds that turned split-second reactions into the difference between victory and violent death. The race required lightning reflexes, nerves of steel, and a connection to the vehicle that bordered on prescient awareness. Humans were said to be unable to compete. Their reaction times were too slow. Only aliens with specialized physiology could survive the speeds and snap decisions required. Life as a slave meant accepting that choice was an illusion. Anakin raced because he was good at it, because Watto demanded it, and because whatever his master wanted, he would do. That was the price paid for being property. Yet, within these constraints, the boy maintained a remarkable spark. He dreamed of the stars, spoke of becoming a pilot and leaving Tatooine behind. He had a good heart, generous and caring toward his mother, willing to give away what little he had to help others. When Shmi spoke of angels, the mythical beings said to inhabit the moons of Yego, Anakin listened with wide eyes and an imagination that transported him beyond the sandy wastes of his prison world. Perhaps one day, he thought, he would fly among those angels. He had no way of knowing how soon that day would come or what price would be paid for his freedom. The Jedi arrive. The Force moves in mysterious ways, connecting events across vast distances, weaving destinies together with threads invisible to most eyes. When Queen Amidala's royal starship emerged from hyperspace, damaged by Trade Federation warships, and was forced to land on Tatooine for repairs, it set in motion a sequence of events that would reshape the galaxy. The Queen's protectors, Jedi Knight Qui-Gon Jinn and his Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi, ventured into Mos Espa seeking parts for their damaged hyperdrive. Accompanying them was Jar Jar Binks, a clumsy Gungan, the Queen's astromech R2-D2, and a young handmaiden named Padmé. In truth, Padmé was Queen Amidala herself, having switched places with one of her decoys to move more freely. But to young Anakin Skywalker, she was simply the most beautiful person he had ever seen. When they entered Watto's shop, seeking a T-14 hyperdrive generator they could not afford, Anakin was manning the counter. He saw Padmé and was transfixed. Were angels real? Because surely this girl with kind eyes and elegant bearing must be one. He asked her directly, with the innocent boldness of a child who had not yet learned to hide his wonder. She laughed, charmed by his earnestness, and told him she was just a girl. But to Anakin, she was something more. A sandstorm was building. Qui-Gon had been unable to purchase the parts they needed. Watto, immune to Jedi mind tricks due to his Toydarian physiology, demanded payment in a currency the Jedi did not have. As the winds began to howl and sand to fly, Anakin made a decision. He invited these strangers to his home to wait out the storm in safety. Shmi welcomed them with the grace that defined her character, offering food and shelter to travelers in need, despite having little herself. Over a meal of modest portions, Qui-Gon learned the child's story. A slave, no father, remarkable skills for one so young. The Jedi Master's instincts, honed by decades of service to the Force, began to whisper. He asked to test the boy's blood, and when the results came back, he could barely believe what his scanner showed. More than 20,000 midichlorians per cell, higher than even Master Yoda, higher than any Jedi in recorded history. Qui-Gon Jinn believed he had found the chosen one. The prophecy spoke of one who would bring balance to the Force, who would destroy the Sith and restore harmony to the galaxy. For 1,000 years, the Jedi had enjoyed relative peace, believing the ancient enemy vanquished. But Qui-Gon had seen darkness stirring, had sensed ripples in the Force that spoke of Sith return. And now, on this desert slave world, he had found a child with power, unlike anything ever measured. The next day, Qui-Gon struck a deal with Watto. The upcoming Boonta Eve Classic pod race would serve as their gamble. If Anakin won, Qui-Gon would get the parts he needed, and Anakin would go free. Watto, convinced that the boy could not win against Sebulba and the other experienced racers, agreed. He would not, however, agree to free both slaves. A choice had to be made. Qui-Gon chose Anakin, rolling the dice to decide which Skywalker would gain their freedom. The Force, it seemed, had made its choice clear. They were wrong. What happened during that race would become legendary. Anakin's reflexes, enhanced by his unconscious connection to the Force, allowed him to navigate the treacherous course with a skill that defied his age. When Sebulba sabotaged his pod, ripping apart one of his engines mid-race, Anakin adapted. When other racers crashed around him, victims of the brutal pace and deadly terrain, he pressed forward. And when Sebulba's known cheating cost him the race, his engines tangling and exploding, Anakin Skywalker crossed the finish line in first place. The boy had won his freedom. The celebration was bittersweet. Anakin was ecstatic, overwhelmed by victory, by the knowledge that he would leave Tatooine and train as a Jedi. But leaving meant leaving his mother behind. Shmi held her son close, telling him to be brave, to not look back. She had always known he was special, had always believed he was meant for greater things than slavery on a desert world. Now her prophecy was coming true, and though it broke her heart to let him go, she knew it was right. Anakin promised he would return. He promised he would come back for her, free her, give her the life she deserved. Shmi smiled through her tears and told him she loved him, would always love him. And then, with Qui-Gon Jinn's hand on his shoulder, Anakin Skywalker walked away from the only home he had ever known. He did not know that it would be 10 years before he saw his mother again. He did not know what he would find when he returned. He did not know that this moment, this parting, would plant seeds of fear and attachment that would one day corrupt everything he was meant to become. The journey to Coruscant should have been joyful. Anakin had never left Tatooine, had never seen the stars up close, had never experienced the vastness of space. He was free. He was going to become a Jedi. But a stop on Naboo shattered the simple narrative of rescue and new beginning. The Trade Federation had invaded Padmé's homeworld. Queen Amidala, revealed in her true identity, needed to return and fight for her people. Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and their unlikely band of heroes accompanied her to break the blockade and liberate Naboo. In the royal hangar, as Jedi and soldiers fought against battle droids, Anakin found himself in the cockpit of a Naboo starfighter. The ship's autopilot engaged, carrying him away from the ground battle and into space, where the droid control ship orbited the planet. Through a combination of skill, instinct, and what Anakin would later recognize as the Force guiding his actions, he fired torpedoes into the control ship's reactor. The massive vessel exploded, its destruction sending the shutdown signal to every battle droid on the planet's surface. Anakin Skywalker, at 9 years old, had just saved Naboo. But victory came with terrible cost. In the palace, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi had faced a Sith Lord, a demon with a double-bladed red lightsaber and a mastery of the dark side that proved the ancient enemy had indeed returned. Darth Maul cut down Qui-Gon, running him through with a lightsaber strike that proved mortal. Obi-Wan, grief and rage fueling his movements, managed to defeat the Sith warrior, but his master died in his arms. Qui-Gon Jinn's last words were a command. "Train the boy, make him a Jedi." Obi-Wan Kenobi, newly elevated to the rank of Jedi Knight, swore he would honor his master's dying wish. The Jedi Council, initially resistant to training one so old and so filled with fear, reluctantly agreed. Anakin Skywalker would become Obi-Wan's Padawan learner. The child from Tatooine had begun his path to becoming a Jedi Knight. And though he did not know it, his first step on this path had also been his first step toward becoming Darth Vader. The Jedi years. For a boy from a desert slave world, the adjustment was staggering. Obi-Wan Kenobi was young for a Jedi Master, barely into his 20s, and had not expected to take a Padawan so soon. He had promised his dying master that he would train Anakin, but the reality of that promise proved challenging. Anakin was too old by Jedi standards. Most younglings began training as toddlers, their memories of their birth families fading as they grew up within the temple's communal structure. Anakin remembered his mother vividly. He missed her. He worried about her. He dreamed of returning to free her. This attachment, the Jedi Council warned, was dangerous. The Jedi Code emphasized emotional control, detachment from personal desires, service to the greater good over individual wants. Passion led to attachment. Attachment led to jealousy and fear. Fear led to the dark side of the Force. It was a philosophy designed to create wise, selfless guardians who could wield immense power without corruption. But for Anakin, who had known love and connection with his mother, who had been chosen specifically because of his uniquely strong connection to the Force, the demands of emotional suppression felt wrong. Still, he threw himself into his training. Obi-Wan proved a skilled and patient teacher, if sometimes frustrated by his Padawan's recklessness. Anakin excelled at lightsaber combat, his reflexes and physical abilities making him a natural duelist. He struggled more with meditation and patience, preferring action to contemplation, results to process. He wanted to be the best, to prove he was worthy of Qui-Gon's faith, to become powerful enough to protect those he cared about. The relationship between Master and Padawan grew from awkward beginnings into genuine brotherhood. Obi-Wan taught Anakin not just the physical techniques of being a Jedi, but the philosophy, the wisdom, the responsibility that came with wielding such power. They traveled to distant worlds on diplomatic missions, faced pirates and criminals, navigated political disputes, and slowly, Anakin began to understand what it meant to be a Jedi. Obi-Wan, for his part, came to genuinely care for his student, seeing past the arrogant exterior to the good heart beneath. But there was another presence in Anakin's life, one that would prove far more dangerous than either Jedi realized. Supreme Chancellor Palpatine had taken a personal interest in the boy from Tatooine. The leader of the Galactic Republic made time in his busy schedule to meet with Anakin, to talk with him, to offer guidance and praise that the Jedi often withheld. Where the Council saw a dangerous emotional attachment to his past, Palpatine saw nothing wrong with caring about one's mother. Where Obi-Wan urged patience and contemplation, Palpatine encouraged Anakin's natural confidence and ambition. The Chancellor became a mentor, a grandfather figure, someone Anakin could talk to about his frustrations and dreams. The Jedi Council was aware of this relationship and concerned by it. No Supreme Chancellor in living memory had shown such personal attention to a single Padawan. But Palpatine was the democratically elected leader of the Republic, their ultimate authority in political matters. They could hardly forbid the relationship, and Anakin, already feeling somewhat apart from his fellow Jedi, found in Palpatine someone who accepted him as he was rather than trying to reshape him into an ideal. Years passed. Anakin grew from child to teenager, his power in the Force developing rapidly, his skills with a lightsaber becoming formidable. Obi-Wan often found himself serving more as a restraining influence than a traditional teacher, trying to temper his Padawan's aggressive tactics and impulsive decision-making. But he could not deny that Anakin was extraordinarily talented. Perhaps, Obi-Wan thought, this was what it meant to train the Chosen One. During these years, a comic book series set early in their partnership revealed tensions and trials. On the war-torn world of Carnelian IV, Master and Padawan faced physical dangers and philosophical questions. Anakin, frustrated by the Jedi's limitations, questioned why the Order had not prevented the world's civil war. Obi-Wan explained the Jedi served the Senate, and there were only 10,000 of them to keep peace across a galaxy of trillions. They could not save every world, fix every problem. It was a hard lesson, one Anakin struggled to accept. On one occasion, during a training duel with Obi-Wan himself, Anakin fought with everything he had, desperate to prove himself. Obi-Wan, the more experienced fighter, controlled the combat, finally disarming his Padawan to demonstrate a point about overconfidence. Anakin's frustration was visible, but Obi-Wan's lesson was clear. Power without control was dangerous. Strength without wisdom led to defeat. As Anakin approached his 20s, the Jedi Council began to see him as one of their most promising young knights in training. His skills were undeniable, but they also saw troubling signs: arrogance, impatience, a hunger for recognition and power that sat uneasily with Jedi teachings. Master Yoda, the ancient Grand Master of the Order, sensed great fear in the boy, and fear, Yoda knew, was the path to the dark side. None of them could have predicted how right he was. Love in the shadows. The young man who returned to Coruscant after years of missions with Obi-Wan Kenobi bore little resemblance to the child who had left Tatooine. Anakin Skywalker stood tall and confident, his movements carrying the grace of a trained warrior, his face bearing the features of a handsome young man who had seen action and emerged victorious. He wore his Padawan braid with pride, and his lightsaber hung at his belt with comfortable familiarity. He had become, by any measure, an impressive Jedi. But beneath the accomplished exterior, the fears and attachments of childhood remained. When Anakin was assigned alongside Obi-Wan to protect Senator Padmé Amidala from assassination attempts, 10 years had passed since they had last seen each other. Padmé had served as Queen of Naboo and had now transitioned into the Galactic Senate, where she was a leading voice against the growing separatist movement threatening to tear the Republic apart. Anakin recognized her immediately. She did not, at first, recognize the tall Jedi Knight as the little boy from Tatooine who had once asked if she was an angel. When the recognition clicked, their reunion was warm, but professional. Padmé remembered Anakin fondly. Grateful for his role in saving Naboo, Anakin made it immediately clear that he had never forgotten her. His feelings, in fact, had grown far beyond childhood admiration into something much deeper and more dangerous. After a second assassination attempt using poisonous worms called cowhounds, Obi-Wan pursued the assailant, leaving Anakin to escort Padmé to safety on Naboo. During the journey and the time spent in hiding at her lake retreat, the walls between Jedi Guardian and Senator slowly crumbled. They talked, reminisced, argued about politics and philosophy. Anakin confessed his frustration with Obi-Wan's constant demands for patience, his feeling that the Jedi Order held him back from reaching his true potential. Padmé saw both his gifts and his growing darkness. Against all wisdom, against the Jedi code that forbade attachment, they fell in love. But even as this forbidden romance bloomed on Naboo, darkness called to Anakin. Dreams began to haunt his sleep, visions of his mother in pain. He saw her suffering, heard her screaming, felt her anguish through the Force. The nightmares grew stronger, more urgent, until Anakin could no longer ignore them. Padmé, seeing his distress, insisted they go to Tatooine. When they arrived at Watto's shop, Anakin learned the truth. His mother had been sold. A moisture farmer named Cliegg Lars had purchased her, then promptly freed her and married her. She lived at the Lars homestead on the edge of the Dune Sea. Anakin felt relief and joy. His mother was free. She had found happiness. Then Cliegg Lars told him the rest. Shmi Skywalker Lars had been captured by Tusken raiders a month earlier. 30 moisture farmers had ridden out to rescue her. Only 4 returned. Cliegg had lost his leg in the attempt. She was gone, and everyone believed that she was dead. They had beaten her, tortured her, left her bound and broken. When she saw her son's face, when Anakin gently freed her from her bonds and held her, she tried to smile. She told him she was complete now that she could see him again. She told him he had grown so handsome. She told him she loved him. And then in her son's arms, Shmi Skywalker died. Something broke inside Anakin Skywalker in that moment. The rage that filled him was beyond anything he had felt before. A fury so complete that it burned away reason and mercy. Every lesson from Obi-Wan about emotional control, every teaching about the Jedi way, vanished in the face of his grief and hatred. He ignited his lightsaber and walked out of that tent into the Tusken camp. and he killed them all, men, women, children, every living being in that camp. He showed no mercy because mercy was not what he felt. The dark side of the Force surged through him, amplifying his power, feeding on his rage, making him faster, stronger, more deadly than he had ever been. The Tuskens fought back with gaffy sticks and projectile weapons, but they might as well have attacked a sandstorm for all the good it did them. Anakin Skywalker slaughtered them like animals. When it was done, when the camp lay silent but for the crackling flames of burning tents, Anakin returned to Padmé. He told her what he had done. The horror of it, the wrongness of it crashed over him. He had killed children, innocents. He had given in to his hatred and become a murderer. Through his tears, he raged against the unfairness of it all, his inability to save his mother despite all his power. Padmé held him, horrified by what he had done, but unable to turn away from him. She should have been repulsed. She should have recognized the darkness in him. But love, like the dark side, can blind even the wisest to danger. She chose to see his grief rather than his monstrosity, his pain rather than his capacity for evil. And in that choice, she became complicit in his fall. Before they could process what had happened, a message arrived from Obi-Wan. He had tracked the assassin Jango Fett to Geonosis, where he discovered a separatist plot. Count Dooku, a former Jedi who had left the Order, was leading a droid army to break away from the Republic. Obi-Wan had been captured. He needed help. Anakin and Padmé rushed to Geonosis, walking into a trap. The Geonosians captured them and sentenced all three to die in the execution arena. As they were led to their doom, Padmé made a confession. She loved Anakin. If these were to be their last moments, she wanted him to know. Anakin, already drowning in darkness, found in her words a lifeline, a reason to fight, to survive. In the arena, facing down Nexus, Reeks, and Ackley, the three prisoners fought with desperate courage. And then, just as their luck ran out, Jedi arrived. Master Mace Windu led hundreds of Jedi Knights into the arena, having discovered the Separatist plot and mobilized the Order's warriors. The Battle of Geonosis had begun. During the chaos, Anakin and Obi-Wan pursued Count Dooku. The old Sith Lord, for Dooku was secretly the Sith apprentice, Darth Tyrannus, proved vastly more powerful than either expected. He defeated Obi-Wan quickly, cutting him down and disarming him. Anakin attacked with rage and competence, dual-wielding both his and Obi-Wan's lightsabers. Dooku's superior experience and skill made the difference. With surgical precision, he severed Anakin's right arm at the elbow. Yoda arrived in time to prevent Dooku from killing them, but the Sith Lord escaped, and Anakin Skywalker, barely into adulthood, had lost his first limb to the enemy. The Republic's clone army, secretly created on Kamino, mobilized for war. The Clone Wars had begun, transforming the galaxy into a battlefield and the Jedi into generals. And in the aftermath of Geonosis, as Anakin recovered from his injuries and received a mechanical prosthetic to replace his lost hand, he and Padmé made a choice. On Naboo, in a secret ceremony witnessed only by C-3PO and R2-D2, Anakin Skywalker and Padmé Amidala were married. They knew it violated the Jedi Code. They knew it put them both at risk, but they did it anyway, choosing love over duty, passion over peace. It seemed romantic, brave, even necessary. For 3 years, the Clone Wars raged across the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, clone troopers and battle droids clashed in conflicts that killed billions and devastated entire star systems. The Jedi, despite their philosophical opposition to military service, led the Republic's armies as generals, their tactical genius and force abilities making them invaluable commanders. And among those Jedi generals, none shone brighter than Anakin Skywalker. The Padawan who had been impulsive and arrogant matured into a warrior of exceptional skill. Anakin earned the rank of Jedi Knight after the Battle of Geonosis, and in the campaigns that followed, he proved himself again and again. His piloting abilities were legendary. His lightsaber technique was devastating. His strategic thinking, though sometimes unconventional, produced victories when more cautious approaches would have failed. The clone troopers of the 501 ST Legion, Anakin's personal command, would follow him anywhere. They called him the hero with no fear. The nickname was both accurate and ironic. Anakin displayed courage that bordered on recklessness, throwing himself into danger to save his troops, to complete the mission, to win at any cost. But beneath the fearless exterior, fear drove everything he did. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear that his power would not be enough when it mattered most. In an unexpected move that Grandmaster Yoda hoped would teach Anakin the value of letting go, the Jedi Council assigned him a Padawan learner. Ahsoka Tano, a young Togruta female with a headstrong personality and fierce determination, became Anakin's apprentice. He initially resisted the assignment, feeling he was not ready to teach. But Ahsoka's presence in his life proved transformative. Through teaching her, Anakin learned to be more patient, more thoughtful. Through her questions, he was forced to examine his own relationship with the Jedi Code and find answers he could articulate and defend. Through protecting her, he understood Obi-Wan's constant caution in a new light. Master and Padawan developed a bond of deep affection and respect, calling each other Sky Guy and Snips with the easy familiarity of family. Together, Anakin and Ahsoka fought in countless battles. They rescued Jabba, the Hutt's son, to secure the Republic's access to Hutt space. They defended Christophsis from Separatist invasion. They worked alongside clone Captain Rex, who became Anakin's trusted friend and confidant. The adventures were dangerous, the victories hard-won, but they forged Anakin into the leader he was always meant to be. The Clone Wars also brought him into repeated contact with the darkness he had touched on Tatooine. On the agricultural world of Zygerria, Anakin went undercover to infiltrate a slave empire. The mission required him to pretend to embrace the very institution that had defined his childhood. Seeing slaves in chains, watching them suffer, triggered his deepest trauma. His anger at the Zygerian queen nearly compromised the mission. Obi-Wan and Captain Rex, also undercover, were subjected to brutal treatment that reminded Anakin viscerally of what it meant to be powerless. When Ahsoka asked about his past during this mission, Anakin shut down. He had never told her about his childhood as a slave, could not bring himself to discuss it. The shame and rage were too great, the memories too painful. So he kept them locked away, another piece of his past he refused to process or release. During the war, Anakin continued his secret relationship with Padmé. They stole moments together between campaigns, meetings hidden from the Jedi Council and the Senate. The constant deception wore on both of them, but ending their marriage was unthinkable. They loved each other too deeply, needed each other too much. Obi-Wan almost certainly suspected the truth, but if he did, he chose not to confront his former apprentice directly. But the Clone Wars took their toll on Anakin's soul in ways that went beyond physical scars and battle fatigue. On the dark side planet Mortis, during a strange encounter with beings who embodied the Force itself, Anakin's memory was briefly restored. He saw visions of his future, glimpsed the mask of Darth Vader, witnessed the destruction he would bring. The father, leader of these Force wielders, erased his memory again. Judging the knowledge too terrible to bear, Anakin left Mortis with no conscious memory of what he had seen, but something in his unconscious remembered. His nightmares grew darker. When the Council offered to reinstate her, to make her a Jedi Knight, Ahsoka refused. The Order had abandoned her when she needed them most. Their lack of faith, their willingness to sacrifice her to political pressure, had broken her trust irrevocably. She walked away from the Jedi, from Anakin, from everything she had trained for. Anakin felt like he had failed her. More than that, he felt the Council had failed her. His faith in the Jedi Order, already strained by their rules against attachment and their political compromises during the war, cracked. If they could abandon Ahsoka so easily, what did their teachings really mean? What good was an order that valued its reputation over its members? These doubts festered as the war continued, and they made Anakin vulnerable to manipulation from the one person who had never judged him, never demanded he suppress his emotions, never made him feel inadequate for loving and caring and wanting to protect those dear to him. Supreme Chancellor Palpatine became more than a mentor during these years. He became the voice that validated every frustrated thought, every resentful feeling, every moment of anger at the Council's limitations. When Anakin confided his concerns, Palpatine listened. When he expressed his ambitions, Palpatine encouraged them. And slowly, carefully, the Sith Lord prepared his greatest weapon for the final phase of his plan. The Clone Wars were not just a conflict between the Republic and Separatists. They were a trap designed from the beginning to destroy the Jedi and corrupt the one who was meant to save them. And that trap was about to close. The point of no return. The war entered its final year with a desperation that touched every world in the Republic. The Separatist droid armies, led by the ruthless General Grievous and the fallen Jedi Count Dooku, pushed deeper into core territories. Coruscant itself came under attack. In a daring raid, General Grievous's forces captured Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, spiriting him away to the Separatist flagship Invisible Hand in orbit above the capital. The Jedi Council dispatched their best warriors to mount a rescue. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker led the mission, flying through a massive naval battle to reach the Chancellor. Aboard the Invisible Hand, they fought through waves of battle droids and super battle droids. Their complementary fighting styles allowing them to move through the ship like a well-oiled machine. The bond between master and former Padawan had deepened into true brotherhood. They fought as one, anticipated each other's moves, trusted each other absolutely. When they reached Palpatine, they found Count Dooku waiting. The duel that followed was brutal. Dooku had defeated them easily 3 years earlier on Geonosis. This time would be different. Obi-Wan engaged first, his defensive Soresu form holding off Dooku's elegant Makashi strikes. But the Sith Lord was too powerful, too experienced. With a force push, Dooku threw Obi-Wan across the room and collapsed a section of the platform on him, pinning him unconscious beneath metal debris. Anakin faced Dooku alone. The rage and hatred that had simmered in Anakin since his mother's death, the frustration that had built during years of war, the fury at Dooku for taking his arm, all of it erupted. He attacked with aggressive ferocity, using his mastery of Jim so to overpower Dooku's defense. Their lightsabers clashed in blue and red arcs, the sound of the duel ringing through the damaged ship. Anakin fought with a skill and power that surprised even himself, channeling the dark side without fully realizing it. In a series of precise strikes, Anakin disarmed Dooku, severing both of the Sith Lord's hands. The Count fell to his knees, defeated. Anakin held both lightsabers, his own and Dooku's, in an X pattern at the old man's throat. "Good, Anakin, good," Palpatine said from his seat where he had been bound. His voice was calm, approving. Kill him now." The old man's body fell, and with it fell another piece of Anakin's light. He immediately felt the weight of what he had done, tried to rationalize it. Dooku was a Sith Lord, a war criminal responsible for countless deaths. But Palpatine's next words showed the truth. He was too dangerous to be left alive. It was the logic of the dark side, power over principle, expedience over morality. They escaped the invisible hand as it crashed into Coruscant's atmosphere, saving Palpatine and earning the Republic's gratitude. But something had shifted in Anakin. He had crossed a line he could not uncross, and the man he had killed for had not been a helpless politician, but a Sith Lord orchestrating the galaxy's fall. Anakin returned to Padmé that night to find her waiting with news. She was pregnant. They were going to have a child. The joy should have been absolute, but Anakin felt fear creeping in. How would they hide a child? What would happen if the council discovered their marriage? And beyond those practical concerns lurked something deeper, a prescient dread that attached itself to his happiness like a shadow. The nightmares started soon after. He saw Padmé dying in childbirth, crying out in pain as life left her body. The dreams had the same quality as his visions of his mother's suffering, the same feeling of prophetic warning. Anakin had been unable to save his mother. He had been too weak, too slow, too constrained by Jedi teachings that told him to accept death as part of the Force's natural cycle. He would not make that mistake again. When Anakin confided in Yoda about his fears, the ancient Jedi Master offered cold comfort. "Death is a natural part of life," Yoda told him. "Rejoice for those around you who transform into the Force. Mourn them, do not. Miss them, do not. Attachment leads to jealousy, the shadow of greed, that is. The advice was meant to bring peace, to help Anakin accept the impermanence of all things. Instead, it crystallized his worst fears. The Jedi would not help him save Padme. Their philosophy of non-attachment meant they would let her die rather than fight death itself. Anakin needed another way, a power greater than what the Jedi taught. Palpatine provided it. The Chancellor requested Anakin's presence at an opera performance, during which he told Anakin a story. Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? It was a Sith legend, not something the Jedi would tell. Darth Plagueis was so powerful and so wise, he could use the Force to influence the midichlorians to create life. He could even save the ones he loved from dying. Is it possible to learn this power? Anakin asked, desperate and trying not to show it. Not from a Jedi, Palpatine replied. The seed was planted. If the Sith had the power to prevent death, if the dark side could do what the light side could not, then perhaps Anakin had been looking to the wrong teachers. But he was still a Jedi Knight, still loyal to Obi-Wan and the Order, still fundamentally good despite the darkness growing in his heart. Then came the revelation that shattered everything. Master Mace Windu approached Anakin with urgent news. The Council had discovered that Chancellor Palpatine was the Sith Lord they had been searching for. He was Darth Sidious, the puppet master behind the Clone Wars, the true enemy orchestrating galactic destruction. Windu and other Jedi Masters were going to arrest him immediately. Anakin was to remain at the temple and await their return. Anakin's world collapsed. Palpatine, his friend, his mentor, the man who had believed in him when others doubted, was the enemy. The man who could save Padme was a Sith Lord. The only path to the power he needed to prevent his wife's death led through the very darkness he had sworn to oppose. Anakin raced to Palpatine's office, arriving as Mace Windu and the Chancellor dueled. The Jedi Master had defeated Palpatine's guards and pressed him to the window. Dark side lightning crackled from the Sith Lord's fingers, but Windu deflected it back, scarring Palpatine's face and revealing the withered, yellow-eyed creature beneath the grandfatherly facade. He's too dangerous to be left alive, Windu declared, raising his lightsaber for the killing blow. No, Anakin shouted, he must stand trial. The irony of using the Jedi principle after killing Dooku without trial was lost on him in that moment. Windu ignored him, preparing to strike, and Anakin made his choice. He ignited his lightsaber and severed Mace Windu's hand. The Jedi Master, disarmed, stared at Anakin in horror and betrayal. Palpatine rose, hatred in his yellow eyes, and unleashed fresh torrents of Force lightning. Windu screamed as the energy consumed him, lifting him from the floor and throwing him through the window. His body fell hundreds of stories, tumbling through Coruscant's eternal traffic dead before he hit the ground. Anakin stared at what he had done, the magnitude of his betrayal crashing over him. What have I done? Palpatine stood, no longer pretending to be weak. You're fulfilling your destiny, Anakin. Become my apprentice. Learn to use the dark side of the Force. I will do whatever you ask, Anakin said, his voice hollow, his soul already beginning to die. Just help me save Padmé's life. I can't live without her. To cheat death is a power only one has achieved, Palpatine said. moving closer. But if we work together, I know we can discover the secret. Anakin knelt before him. He had nothing left. His morality, his loyalty, his identity as a Jedi, all of it had been sacrificed in the desperate hope of saving his wife. I pledge myself to your teachings, Master. Good, Palpatine said, placing his hand on Anakin's head like a blessing. The Force is strong with you. A powerful Sith you will become. Henceforth, you shall be known as Darth Vader. The name itself was a kind of death. Anakin Skywalker, the child from Tatooine, the hero of the Clone Wars, the chosen one of prophecy, ceased to exist in that moment. What rose from his kneeling form was something new, something terrible. Darth Vader had been born. The night of betrayal. Across the galaxy, in cities and camps and bases on 1,000 worlds, clone troopers received a transmission, Order 66. 3 words that activated programming buried deep in their genetics. The clones, created on Kamino specifically to serve the Republic, had inhibitor chips implanted in their brains during development. These chips could receive specific commands and override the clone's free will. Order 66 was one such command. Execute the Jedi generals. Darth Vader led the 501st Legion, his personal clone battalion, into the temple. The slaughter began immediately. The Jedi Temple guards tried to resist, but they were overwhelmed by the coordinated assault. Vader moved through the temple like an avatar of death, his lightsaber cutting down any Jedi who stood before him. But the clone troopers did most of the killing, blasters firing in controlled bursts, executing the guardians of peace and justice with mechanical efficiency. When Vader reached the council chambers, he found the younglings hiding. Children, some as young as 4 or 5 years old, staring up at him with fear and confusion. They recognized Anakin Skywalker. He had trained in this temple. They had seen him walking the halls, practicing in the training rooms. One small boy found courage. "Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?" Vader ignited his lightsaber. The blue blade hummed in the silence of the chamber. What happened next was so horrific that even years later, survivors could barely speak of it. Vader killed them all, every child in that room. He showed no hesitation, no mercy, no trace of the man who had once dreamed of becoming a Jedi to help people. The dark side had consumed him completely, feeding on his fear and guilt and transforming it into power that demanded blood. Throughout the night, the slaughter continued. The Jedi Temple, built over centuries to be a beacon of hope and wisdom, became a tomb. By dawn, smoke rose from its spires, and the halls ran with blood. The Jedi Order, guardians of peace for 1,000 generations, was destroyed. Vader received his next command from his master. Go to Mustafar. The Separatist Council had gathered there, believing they had won the war. Palpatine wanted them eliminated. The Clone Wars had served their purpose. The Confederacy of Independent Systems was no longer needed. Vader took his ship to the volcanic world, landing at the mining facility where the Separatist leadership waited. Newt Gunray and the other leaders greeted him with relief, believing he had come to negotiate or provide news of their victory. Vader's only response was to activate his lightsaber. The killing was methodical. These were not warriors, but bureaucrats and merchants who had funded the war for profit. Vader cut them down without a word, moving from one to another with emotionless efficiency. When the last of them fell, the Clone Wars were effectively over. The Republic had won, or rather, it had lost. Emperor Palpatine declared the Jedi traitors and reorganized the Republic into the Galactic Empire. On Mustafar, Vader stood alone in the control room, staring out at rivers of lava flowing beneath the facility. He had done what was necessary. He had betrayed everything he believed in, murdered children, destroyed the Jedi Order. But it was worth it. It had to be worth it. Padmé would be saved. He would have the power to keep her from dying. Then he felt her presence. Padmé's ship landed on the platform outside. She had seen the security hologram from the temple. C-3PO had accessed the records, trying to find out what happened to Anakin. Instead, they had seen him leading clones into the temple, seen him strike down Jedi, seen him kneel before Palpatine. Padmé had refused to believe it at first, but she had come to Mustafar to confront him, to hear the truth from his lips. "Anakin!" she called, running to him. "Thank goodness you're all right." "I'm fine," he said. His voice was different, harder. "But I had to do terrible things." "Come away with me," Padmé begged. "Help me raise our child. Leave everything else behind." "Because of Obi-Wan?" Vader snarled. "Because of what you've done," Padmé cried. "What you plan to do." "Stop. Stop now. Come back." Movement at the ship's ramp caught Vader's eye. Obi-Wan Kenobi emerged, having stowed away aboard Padmé's ship. Vader's face twisted with rage. She had brought him. She had betrayed him, led his former master here to kill him. "You're with him," Vader roared. "You brought him here to kill me." "No." Padmé tried to reason with him, but Vader was beyond reason. He raised his hand, and force energy wrapped around Padmé's throat. She choked, unable to breathe, her hands clawing at her neck. "Let her go, Anakin," Obi-Wan commanded. Vader released Padmé, and she collapsed to the platform. Obi-Wan caught her, checking that she was still breathing, then stood to face his former apprentice. "You turned her against me," Vader screamed. "You have done that yourself," Obi-Wan said steadily. He had tears in his eyes, grief for what his student had become. "You have allowed this Dark Lord to twist your mind until now you have become the very thing you swore to destroy." "Don't lecture me, Obi-Wan. I see through the lies of the Jedi. I do not fear the dark side as you do. I have brought peace, freedom, justice, and security to my new empire." "Your new empire?" Obi-Wan repeated, finally understanding the depth of corruption. "Don't make me kill you," Vader warned. "Anakin, my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy," Obi-Wan declared. "If you're not with me, then you're my enemy." "Only a Sith deals in absolutes," Obi-Wan said, his voice breaking. "I will do what I must." He ignited his lightsaber, and Vader ignited his. The duel. The duel that followed would echo through history. Master and apprentice, former brothers, fighting to the death on a world of fire and ash. They moved through the mining facility with terrifying grace, their lightsabers weaving patterns of light and violence. Vader attacked with brutal aggression, channeling his rage into every strike. Obi-Wan defended with the patience and control of a master, looking for openings, trying to end this without killing the man he loved as a brother. They fought through the control room, their battle destroying consoles and terminals. They fought across precarious walkways, suspended over rivers of lava. The heat was intense, but both Jedi were too focused on the duel to notice. Vader's newfound dark side power made him faster, stronger, but also reckless. Obi-Wan's experience and discipline kept him alive. At one point, they faced each other across a narrow beam, their lightsabers locked together. "I have failed you, Anakin," Obi-Wan said, his voice raw with emotion. "I have failed you." They fought onto a collection structure over the lava river, their duel causing the metal to collapse. They rode the structure down the lava flow, continuing to fight even as the world burned around them. When the structure broke apart completely, they jumped to opposite banks of the river. Obi-Wan reached the high ground first, standing on a black sandbank several meters above where Vader landed on a metal platform floating in the lava. "It's over, Anakin," Obi-Wan called out. "I have the high ground." "You underestimate my power," Vader snarled. "Don't try it." But Vader's arrogance, always his greatest weakness, would not allow him to see reason. He was the chosen one. He was the most powerful Jedi of his generation. He would not be defeated by his old master. He would not fail. Vader gathered the force around him and leaped. The jump was superhuman, propelling him in a high arc toward the bank where Obi-Wan stood. In midair, he spun, lightsaber ready to strike. It should have worked. The move was one he had practiced 1,000 times, one he had used successfully in countless duels. Obi-Wan's lightsaber moved in a single, precise arc. Vader's left arm and both legs were severed at the joints. His body, now just a torso and single arm, tumbled through the air and landed on the black sand near the lava. His lightsaber fell into the molten rock and was consumed. The pain was beyond description. Vader screamed, a sound of pure agony that echoed across the lava fields. He tried to move, to reach for the Force, to do anything, but his body would not respond. He was helpless, limbless, dying. Obi-Wan approached, tears streaming down his face. He looked at what remained of his apprentice, his brother, and felt grief so profound it threatened to break him. "You were the chosen one," he shouted. "It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness." Vader's yellow eyes, now fully transformed by the dark side, glared up at him with pure hatred. "I hate you!" he screamed. "You were my brother, Anakin," Obi-Wan said, his voice barely a whisper. "I loved you." He turned away. He could not watch anymore. He took Anakin's lightsaber and walked back to Padmé's ship, leaving his former apprentice to die in the flames. But Vader did not die quickly. As Obi-Wan's ship lifted off, carrying an unconscious Padmé to safety, Vader's body rolled too close to the lava river. His remaining clothing caught fire. The flames spread across his body, consuming what was left of his skin. He screamed until his vocal cords were destroyed. He burned until there was almost nothing left of the man he had been, and still he did not die. The dark side kept him alive. His hatred, his rage, his absolute refusal to accept defeat sustained him when his body should have failed. He lay on that black sand, a charred and broken thing, burning and suffering and held in life by pure malevolence. When Emperor Palpatine arrived in his shuttle, drawn by the disturbance in the Force, he found his new apprentice barely alive. "We must hurry if he is to survive," Palpatine told his red-robed Imperial guards. They loaded Vader's ruined body onto a medical gurney and rushed him back to Coruscant. The surgery took hours, and when the medical droids finally activated the systems they had installed, when power flooded through the cybernetics and life support mechanisms, Darth Vader drew his first mechanical breath. The respirator made a sound that would become legendary throughout the galaxy, a slow, deep, rhythmic breathing that spoke of machines and death. Vader's eyes opened behind the mask's lenses. His first thoughts were of Padmé. He reached out through the Force, trying to sense her, but felt nothing. Panic gripped him. "Lord Vader," Palpatine said, approaching the operating table. "Can you hear me?" "Where's Padmé?" Vader's voice emerged from the vocabulator, deeper than his natural voice, distorted by machinery. "Is she safe? Is she all right? It seems in your anger you killed her," Palpatine lied. The truth was different. Padmé had survived Mustafar. She had given birth to twins, a boy and a girl she named Luke and Leia. But her will to live had been broken by Anakin's fall. Medical droids could find no physical reason for her decline, but her heart was broken, and she had lost the will to fight. She died shortly after childbirth, her last words a belief that there was still good in Anakin, that he could be saved. But Vader did not know this. He knew only what Palpatine told him, that in his rage he had killed her. Everything he had done, every terrible act, every betrayal had been to save Padmé, and he had killed her instead. "No!" Vader screamed. The cry emerged as a mechanically distorted roar. "No! No!" The Force erupted from him in a wave of grief and rage so powerful that it shattered the medical equipment around him. Droids were thrown against walls, metal bent and twisted, the very air crackled with dark side energy. Palpatine watched with satisfaction. Perfect. The transformation was complete. The last remnants of Anakin Skywalker had died with the belief that he had killed his wife. What remained was only Vader, a creature of hatred and self-loathing, completely dependent on his master and the dark side for survival. "Rise, Lord Vader," Palpatine commanded. And Darth Vader rose. The black armored figure stood for the first time, towering over 2 meters tall, his breathing loud and mechanical, his very presence radiating menace. He was no longer human in any meaningful sense. He was a cyborg, a weapon, a monument to the price of fear and the power of the dark side. The man was gone. The monster remained. The Dark Times. The first years in the armor were agony. Vader's injuries had left him in constant pain. The synthetic skin that covered his burned flesh itched unbearably. The mask pressed needles into the base of his skull to interface with his nervous system. The respirator forced air into lungs that had been permanently damaged. Every moment of existence was suffering. Palpatine had designed it that way. The technology used in Vader's armor was deliberately outdated, based on the same principles used decades earlier to create General Grievous. Superior prosthetics existed. More comfortable life support systems could have been installed. But the Emperor wanted his apprentice to suffer. Pain fueled the dark side. Rage at his constant agony kept Vader strong, kept him connected to the hatred that gave him power. And the suit's deliberate vulnerabilities ensured that Vader could never challenge his master. A single blast of Force lightning would overload the electrical systems and kill him. The dark side of the Force flowed through Vader with terrible potency. His connection to the Force had been diminished by his physical injuries and the loss of most of his original body. But what remained was still greater than most Jedi could ever achieve. He could no longer perform the acrobatic feats that had defined Anakin Skywalker's combat style. His armor was too heavy, his body too damaged, but he adapted. Vader developed a fighting style that relied on overwhelming power and unstoppable advance. He moved with methodical determination, his lightsaber strikes carrying enough force to shatter defenses. He used the Force to compensate for his reduced mobility, pulling enemies toward him, throwing objects to control the battlefield, choking opponents from across the room. Where Anakin had been a tornado of motion, Vader was an advancing glacier, slower but inevitable. The Emperor wasted no time putting his new enforcer to work. The Jedi had been destroyed, but survivors remained scattered throughout the galaxy. These fugitives posed a threat to the Empire's control and had to be hunted down and eliminated. Vader took charge of this mission with grim determination. To assist in the Great Purge, Palpatine created the Inquisitorius. These were former Jedi who had survived Order 66 and been captured by the Empire. Through torture, manipulation, and promises of survival, they were turned to the dark side and transformed into Jedi hunters. The Grand Inquisitor, a Pal-On who had once served as a Jedi Temple guard, led this organization. Other Inquisitors received numerical designations: Second Sister, Fifth Brother, Seventh Sister, and others. These Inquisitors answered to Vader, and he trained them personally in the use of the dark side. But he never allowed them to become too powerful. The Sith followed the rule of two, one master and one apprentice. The Inquisitors were not Sith. They were tools, expendable servants who would never rise above their station. When they failed, Vader killed them without hesitation. The hunt for surviving Jedi was methodical and merciless. Vader himself pursued the most dangerous targets. On numerous worlds, he confronted former Jedi Masters and Knights who had escaped Order 66. Some fought bravely, others tried to hide or run. All of them died. Vader's reputation grew with each kill. Stories spread through the underground networks of the galaxy about a dark lord in black armor whose breathing could be heard before he appeared, who killed Jedi without mercy. During these early years, Vader began construction of his personal fortress on Mustafar. The location was significant. This was where Anakin Skywalker had died, where the man had burned away to leave only the machine. The fortress was built atop an ancient Sith temple, its tuning towers acting as conduits for dark side energy. In his fortress, Vader could meditate in solitude, could remove his armor in specially designed chambers, could rest in Bacta tanks that eased some of his constant pain. The castle became both his sanctuary and his prison. He rarely left unless commanded by the Emperor or pursuing a specific target. The galaxy was vast, and Vader felt isolated from it all. His suit separated him physically from others. His appearance inspired fear rather than connection. He could form no friendships, allow no attachments. He was alone with his hatred and his grief. In those dark hours when he was alone in his fortress, Vader sometimes remembered. He remembered Padmé's smile. He remembered his mother's voice. He remembered Ahsoka's laugh and Obi-Wan's patient teachings. The memories were knives that twisted in his heart. He had destroyed everything good in his life. The people he had loved were dead, and it was his fault. But Vader could not allow himself to dwell on such thoughts. Regret, remorse, and guilt would weaken him. They would crack the shell of hatred that kept him alive. So he pushed the memories away, buried them deep, and focused on his duty to the Emperor and the power of the dark side. Years passed. The Empire consolidated its control over the galaxy. Stormtroopers replaced clone troopers as the Emperor's military force. Star destroyers patrolled the space lanes. Systems that resisted Imperial rule were crushed. Slavery, long illegal under the Republic, returned to many worlds. Fear became the primary tool of governance. But in all those years of service, through all the missions and all the death, Vader never forgot what he had lost. Padmé haunted him. The knowledge that he had killed her, that his attempt to save her had led to her death, was the foundation of his existence as a Sith Lord. He had given up everything to prevent her death, and he had accomplished nothing but destroying her. That pain, that self-hatred, that terrible knowledge of what he had become and what it had cost, fueled his power. The dark side fed on suffering, and no one in the galaxy suffered more than Darth Vader. He was the most powerful Sith Lord in 1,000 years, and he was the most miserable being alive. A new hope. 18 years after the fall of the Republic, rebellion stirred. The Empire's brutal policies had created resistance movements on dozens of worlds. These disparate groups gradually coalesced into a unified alliance to restore the Republic. The Rebel Alliance, as it was known, struck at Imperial targets, rescued prisoners, and spread hope that the Emperor could be defeated. The Empire responded with overwhelming force. Death Star was the code name for the ultimate weapon, a moon-sized battle station with enough firepower to destroy an entire planet. Director Orson Krennic oversaw the project's completion, believing it would cement his legacy and secure his position in the Imperial hierarchy. Darth Vader despised the Death Star. He saw it as a symptom of the Empire's arrogance, a belief that destructive power could replace the strength of the Force. The resources poured into this single weapon could have built thousands of Star Destroyers. Its very existence would inspire rather than prevent rebellion. But Palpatine wanted his superweapon, and Vader served his master's will. When the Death Star's lead engineer, Galen Erso, embedded a design flaw and defected to the rebellion, Vader was drawn into the race to secure the plans. He traveled to Mustafar, to his fortress, where he summoned Krennic. The director sought an audience with the Emperor, believing he deserved credit for the Death Star's completion. Vader had little patience for the man's ambition. "Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, Director," Vader said, using the Force to choke Krennic just enough to make his point before releasing him. The plans were eventually stolen by a group of rebels in a desperate assault on the Imperial facility at Scarif. Vader arrived as the battle reached its climax, boarding a rebel flagship just as the stolen plans were transmitted to another ship. What happened next became legendary. The hallway was dark. Emergency lighting cast everything in red shadows. Rebel soldiers desperately tried to pass a data disk through a jammed door. Then they heard it. The sound of mechanical breathing. Slow, steady, inevitable. Darth Vader's lightsaber ignited, its red blade the only light in the corridor. The rebels opened fire. Blaster bolts filled the narrow space. Dozens of shots that should have overwhelmed any single target. Vader deflected them with contemptuous ease, his lightsaber moving in blurs of crimson light. He advanced down the hallway, and with each step, soldiers died. He pulled one man off his feet with the Force and impaled him. He deflected a bolt back into another soldier's chest. He pinned a third to the ceiling, crushing him against the metal. The rebels fought with desperate courage, but they might as well have fought a natural disaster. Vader was unstoppable, a force of nature wrapped in black armor. One by one, they fell. The data disk passed through the partially open door just as Vader killed the last soldier. The door sealed completely, and beyond it, the rebel ship Tantive 4 detached and jumped to hyperspace. "If this is a consular ship, where is the ambassador?" he demanded. When he learned the plans had been jettisoned in an escape pod, Vader's frustration was palpable. The data had landed on Tatooine. Of all the worlds in the galaxy, the trail led to the desert planet where he had been a slave, where his mother had died. Vader refused to personally search there. Stormtroopers would pursue the plans while he took the princess to the Death Star for interrogation. Grand Moff Tarkin, the Death Star's commanding officer, believed the station made Vader obsolete. "The Jedi are extinct," Tarkin said. "Their fire has gone out of the universe. You, my friend, are all that's left of their religion." "Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed," Vader replied. "The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force." Admiral Motti made the mistake of mocking Vader's devotion to the Force. Vader demonstrated his power by force choking the Admiral from across the conference table, stopping only when Tarkin ordered him to release the man. It was a reminder to everyone present. Vader might serve the Empire, but he was not bound by its military hierarchy. The stolen plans led the rebellion to discover the Death Star's weakness, a thermal exhaust port that connected directly to the main reactor. A single proton torpedo in that port would destroy the entire station. The rebels launched their attack, staging a desperate assault with starfighters against the battle station surface. Vader personally flew his TIE Advanced X-1 fighter to destroy the rebel attackers. His piloting skills, honed during the Clone Wars, had not diminished. He shot down pilot after pilot, his accuracy and anticipation making him more dangerous than entire squadrons. The rebel attack was failing. Only one starfighter remained on its attack run, piloted by a young man Vader could sense was strong in the Force. Luke Skywalker. Vader didn't know the pilot's identity. He didn't know this boy was his son. He only knew that this fighter was seconds from firing the shot that would destroy the Death Star. Vader acquired a target lock and prepared to fire. Then Han Solo's Millennium Falcon appeared from nowhere, strafing Vader's escort fighters and sending his TIE spinning out of control into space. Luke fired his torpedoes. The Death Star exploded. Vader survived, recovering his damaged fighter and eventually making his way to an Imperial facility. But the Empire had suffered a devastating defeat. The rebellion had proven the Death Star could be destroyed, and Vader had been within seconds of killing the pilot who made it happen. The Emperor was not pleased. The son of Skywalker. After the Battle of Yavin, Vader became obsessed with finding the rebel pilot who had destroyed the Death Star. The Emperor commanded it, but Vader had his own reasons. The pilot had been strong in the Force, unusually so. Someone that powerful should have been detected by the Inquisitorius, trained or eliminated. Who was he? Vader hired Boba Fett, the galaxy's most notorious bounty hunter, to investigate. What Fett discovered changed everything. The pilot's name is Skywalker. Luke Skywalker. The name hit Vader like a physical blow. Skywalker. But that was impossible. Padmé had been pregnant, yes, but she had died. The Emperor had told him she died, unless she had given birth before death took her, unless the child had survived. The revelation transformed Vader's perspective on everything. He was not alone. He had family. His son lived. The one good thing to come from his relationship with Padmé had survived, had grown into a young man, had become strong in the Force. But Luke was a rebel. He fought for the alliance that opposed the Empire. He had destroyed the Death Star, killing hundreds of thousands of Imperial personnel. In any rational calculation, the boy should be hunted down and killed or captured and turned. But Vader found himself thinking differently. Luke could be turned to the dark side. Vader could train him, make him powerful. Together, father and son could overthrow the Emperor and rule the galaxy. The Sith rule of two demanded that the apprentice eventually surpass and kill the master. Vader had never been strong enough to defeat Palpatine alone, but with his son at his side, with the combined strength of Skywalker blood, the Emperor sensed these thoughts. The son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi, Palpatine commanded. If he could be turned, he would become a powerful ally. He will join us or die, Master, Vader replied. The next 3 years were dominated by the hunt for Luke Skywalker and the Rebel Alliance. Vader threw himself into the search with renewed purpose. He established a fleet to patrol the Outer Rim, hired bounty hunters to investigate rebel cells, and personally led raids on suspected rebel bases. The rebels, meanwhile, had established Echo Base on the ice planet Hoth. For a time, they enjoyed relative safety in the remote system, but the Empire's search was methodical and vast. Eventually, probe droids discovered the hidden base. Vader led the assault personally. The Battle of Hoth was a decisive Imperial victory. TAT walkers crushed the rebel defenses, Snowtroopers stormed the base. The rebels evacuated in chaos, losing personnel and equipment. But Luke Skywalker escaped, his ship fleeing toward the outer rim. Vader ordered the fleet to pursue. "I want that ship, not excuses," he told Admiral Ozzel when the officer failed to catch the Millennium Falcon. During the pursuit, Vader felt his son through the Force. Luke was training, learning the ways of the Jedi from someone strong in the light side. Good. The more skilled Luke became, the more powerful he would be when Vader turned him. The dark side was stronger than the light. Vader would prove it by corrupting the boy just as he had been corrupted. Vader set a trap. He came to an arrangement with Lando Calrissian, Baron Administrator of Cloud City on Bespin. Solo and the princess would arrive seeking sanctuary, and Calrissian would turn them over to the Empire. Vader would use Solo and Organa as bait to draw out Luke, then freeze the boy in carbonite and present him to the Emperor. The plan worked perfectly. Solo was frozen in carbonite and turned over to Boba Fett for delivery to Jabba the Hutt. Leia and Chewbacca were imprisoned, and Luke Skywalker walked straight into the trap, drawn by visions of his friends in pain. Father and son faced each other for the first time in Cloud City's carbon freezing chamber. "The Force is with you, young Skywalker," Vader said, "but you are not a Jedi yet." They dueled through the industrial complex, Vader testing his son's skills, gauging his power. Luke fought with passion and courage, but lacked training and experience. Vader toyed with him, gradually increasing the pressure, driving him back. He battered Luke's defense, finally disarming him by cutting through the catwalk railing. "He told me enough," Luke shouted back. "He told me you killed him." Vader paused. The moment had come, the revelation that would shake his son to his core. "No, I am your father." "No," Luke whispered. "No, that's not true. That's impossible." "Search your feelings," Vader commanded. "You know it to be true." Luke stared at the Dark Lord, who had just shattered his understanding of everything. Vader pressed his advantage. "Join me, and together we can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy." "I'll never join you," Luke cried. "If you only knew the power of the dark side," Vader continued, extending his hand. "Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father." The revelation hung in the air between them. Father and son, light and dark. The culmination of Anakin Skywalker's fall and the hope for redemption. "Luke, you can destroy the Emperor. He has foreseen this. It is your destiny. Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son. Come with me. It is the only way." Luke made his choice. Rather than accept his father's offer, rather than join the dark side, he let go. He fell backward into the reactor shaft, choosing death over corruption, but he did not die. He fell through the shaft's maintenance system and ended up clinging to a weather vane beneath Cloud City. Vader felt him there, felt his rejection, and something in the Dark Lord twisted. His son had chosen death rather than join him. Vader had offered Luke everything, power and knowledge and family, and the boy had refused. Luke was eventually rescued by his friends, and the rebel fleet escaped. Vader watched them go, feeling the connection to his son through the Force. Luke knew the truth now. Vader was his father. Darth Vader, the Emperor's enforcer, the most feared being in the galaxy, was once Anakin Skywalker, Jedi Knight, and hero of the Clone Wars. The revelation changed nothing and everything. Vader reported his failure to the Emperor. Palpatine was not pleased, but sensed opportunity. The son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi. If he could be turned, he would be a powerful ally, Vader suggested. Yes, the Emperor agreed. He would be a great asset. Can it be done? He will join us or die, Master. But in Vader's mechanical heart, a question had begun to form. What if there was another option? What if instead of Luke joining him in service to the Emperor, they could overthrow Palpatine together? What if the Skywalker's father and son could rule the galaxy and bring true order? It was the first time since Mustafar that Vader had thought about anything other than serving his master and suffering in his prison of armor. His son had awakened something in him, a spark of possibility he had thought forever extinguished. The dark side had given him power, but it had also taken everything from him: his wife, his limbs, his very identity. What if there was another way? These thoughts were dangerous. Vader pushed them aside. He was Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith. He served Emperor Palpatine. His destiny was set. The construction of a second Death Star proceeded in orbit above the forest moon of Endor. The Emperor himself oversaw the project, sensing that the rebellion was preparing for a final confrontation. Palpatine allowed Rebelskis to learn of the new weapon, feeding them false information about its completion schedule. The Death Star was operational. The rebellion would launch their assault, and the Empire would crush them completely. Vader felt the trap being set but said nothing. He had learned through intermediaries that Luke was with the rebels, that his son had returned to Tatooine and rescued Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt. The boy had grown stronger, more confident. He had constructed his own lightsaber, a sign he was completing his Jedi training. When Vader arrived at the second Death Star, the Emperor greeted him with satisfaction. I trust you're here to ensure that Lord Vader completes his mission. His son is strong with the Force, Vader replied. He could be a great asset. He has grown strong, Palpatine agreed. Only together can we turn him to the dark side. Vader felt the conflict within himself growing. For years, he had contemplated turning Luke and using him to overthrow the Emperor. But Palpatine knew his thoughts, could sense his treacherous intentions. The Emperor was always 3 steps ahead, manipulating events to his advantage. What hope did Vader have of defeating him, even with Luke's help? On Endor, Vader sensed his son's presence. Luke had landed with the strike team tasked with destroying the Death Star's shield generator. Vader knew the rebels were walking into a trap, that Imperial forces waited for them on the moon. But he also knew that Luke would try to reach him, try to redeem him. The thought was absurd. Redemption was impossible. Vader had done too much evil, killed too many innocents, betrayed everyone he ever loved. There was no coming back from what he had become. Yet, when the Imperial shuttle brought Luke aboard the Death Star, when his son was led into Vader's presence, the Dark Lord found himself hoping. This close, Vader could feel Luke's light through the Force. The boy was good, genuinely good in a way Anakin Skywalker had once been. There was no hatred in him, no desire for vengeance, only hope that his father could be saved. "The Emperor has been expecting you," Vader said. "I know, Father," Luke replied. The word struck Vader like a lightsaber. Father. His son acknowledged him, accepted him despite everything he had done. "So, you have accepted the truth." "I've accepted that you were once Anakin Skywalker, my father," Luke said. "That name no longer has any meaning for me," Vader replied, but his voice carried less certainty than usual. "It is the name of your true self," Luke insisted. "You've only forgotten." "I know there is good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully." Vader wanted to believe him. For just a moment, he allowed himself to imagine it. Throwing aside the armor, the pain, the hatred, returning to who he had been before Mustafar, protecting Luke instead of trying to corrupt him, opposing the Emperor instead of serving him. But such thoughts were fantasy. "I must obey my master." "I will not turn," Luke said with absolute certainty, "and you'll be forced to kill me." "If that is your destiny," Vader replied, though saying the words hurt in ways his burned nerves should no longer feel. He delivered Luke to the throne room, where Palpatine waited. The Emperor dismissed Vader's guards, wanting to speak with Luke alone. Vader stood by silently as his master tempted Luke with power, with the promise of saving his friends if only the boy would give in to his anger. The rebel fleet arrived on schedule, finding the Death Star's deflector shield still operational. The trap was sprung. Rebel ships died by the dozens as the Death Star's super laser fired, destroying capital ships with surgical precision. On the forest moon, Imperial forces overwhelmed the rebel strike team. "Your fleet is lost," the Emperor told Luke, "and your friends on the Endor moon will not survive. There is no escape, my young apprentice. The Alliance will die, as will your friends." Luke's hand moved to his lightsaber. Palpatine sensed it and smiled. "Good. Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you." Luke ignited his lightsaber and attacked, but Vader intervened, blocking the strike. Father and son dueled again, but this time was different. Vader could feel Luke's reluctance, his refusal to truly fight. The boy defended himself, but sought no openings to strike. "Give yourself to the dark side," Vader urged. "It is the only way you can save your friends." "Yes, your thoughts betray you. Your feelings for them are strong, especially for..." He stopped. Through their connection in the Force, Vader had sensed something unexpected. "Sister!" "So, you have a twin sister. Your feelings have now betrayed her too. Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from me. Now, his failure is complete. If you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will." The threat to Leia broke Luke's restraint. He attacked with savage fury, driving Vader back, overwhelming his defense. Blow after blow rained down on the Dark Lord's guard. Vader tried to counter, but Luke's rage made him too fast, too strong. With a final powerful strike, Luke severed Vader's right hand at the wrist. Vader's lightsaber fell, and the Dark Lord collapsed. He was beaten, His son stood over him, breathing heavily, his own lightsaber ready to deliver the killing blow. The Emperor watched with satisfaction. Good! Your hate has made you powerful. Now fulfill your destiny and take your father's place at my side. Luke looked at the Emperor, then at his own mechanical right hand, so similar to the cybernetic limb he had just severed from his father. He saw the parallel. If he killed Vader now, in anger and hatred, he would become what his father had become. The dark side would claim him just as it had claimed Anakin Skywalker. He made his choice. Luke deactivated his lightsaber and threw it aside. Never. I'll never turn to the dark side. You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me. The words penetrated the shell of hatred that had sustained Vader for so long. Like my father before me, Luke still believed, even now, even after their duel, even with Vader defeated and helpless, Luke believed there was good in him. Palpatine's satisfaction turned to fury. So be it, Jedi! He raised his hands, and force lightning erupted from his fingers. Luke screamed. The blue energy consumed him, racking his body with agony. He fell to the floor, writhing, dying. The Emperor laughed, pouring more power into the attack. Young fool! Only now, at the end, do you understand. Your feeble skills are no match for the power of the dark side. Vader watched his son dying. He heard Luke's screams, saw his agony, felt his life force being drained away, and something broke inside the Dark Lord. This was wrong. The word penetrated Vader's consciousness. Father, not Vader, not my Lord. Father Luke was calling to him, not as a Sith Lord or an enemy, but as his father. His son needed him. Vader looked at his master, at the withered creature who had manipulated him for decades, who had lied about Padmé's death, who had taken the broken man on Mustafar and remade him into a weapon of hate. Palpatine had never cared about Vader beyond his usefulness. The Emperor had designed his armor to be deliberately painful, had kept him in constant agony, had made him a slave again in all but name. And now Palpatine was killing his son. Anakin Skywalker made his choice. He grabbed the Emperor from behind, lifting him despite the lightning that immediately turned on him. His armor systems screamed as electricity overloaded circuits and melted components. Pain beyond anything he had felt since Mustafar coursed through his body, but he did not let go. Vader! Palpatine screamed, no longer the calm manipulator, but a creature of pure rage. Force lightning poured from him in torrents, trying to destroy the apprentice who had betrayed him. Vader carried him to the reactor shaft and threw him in. Palpatine fell, his scream fading as he plummeted into the depths of the Death Star. The lightning stopped, and Vader collapsed, his life support systems failing, his body shutting down. Luke crawled to him, his own injuries forgotten. Father! Help me take this mask off, Vader said, his vocabulary crackling with damage. But you'll die, Luke protested. Nothing can stop that now, Vader replied. His breathing was labored, his mechanical lungs no longer receiving power. Just for once, let me look on you with my own eyes. Luke carefully removed the helmet. The seals broke with a hiss of escaping air. And beneath the mask, instead of the monster everyone imagined, was the scarred face of a man, pale, hairless, marked by burn scars and decades of suffering. But human. Anakin Skywalker. He looked at his son with his own eyes for the first time. Luke was handsome, brave, good, everything Anakin had hoped for. "Now go, my son," he whispered. "Leave me." "No, you're coming with me. I'll not leave you here. I've got to save you." "You already have, Luke," Anakin said. A small smile crossed his ruined features. "You were right. You were right about me. Tell your sister you were right." His eyes closed. His labored breathing stopped, and Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one, the hero of the Clone Wars, the man who had fallen so far into darkness he became Darth Vader, died in his son's arms. But he did not die in darkness. In his final moments, Anakin Skywalker had returned. He had defied the Emperor, saved his son, and chosen love over hate. The dark side released its hold on his spirit, allowing him to pass into the Force as a Jedi, transformed through redemption into something more than he had been in life. Luke escaped the Death Star minutes before it exploded, carrying his father's body with him. On the forest moon of Endor, while the Ewoks and rebels celebrated their victory, Luke built a funeral pyre away from the festivities. He lit his father's empty armor on fire, watching as the flames consumed the shell that had imprisoned Anakin Skywalker for so long. Anakin had fulfilled the prophecy after all. He had brought balance to the Force, not by destroying the Sith as everyone expected, but by embracing love in his final moment. In that single act of selfless sacrifice, he had undone Palpatine's plans and saved the galaxy. The man who had been Darth Vader was free at last. Legacy. The story of Darth Vader echoes through the decades that follow his death. His legacy is complex, a mixture of horror and hope, a reminder of how good people can fall and how even the fallen can find redemption. To the galaxy at large, Vader remained a symbol of terror. Stories of his brutality, of Jedi massacres and worlds subjugated, spread through the New Republic. But those who knew the truth understood that Vader was also Anakin Skywalker, the hero, who had ended the Emperor's reign. Luke Skywalker never stopped believing in the good he saw in his father at the end, never stopped honoring the man Anakin had been beneath the mask. In the years that followed, one of Vader's own descendants would become obsessed with his legacy. Ben Solo, son of Leia Organa and Han Solo, learned that his grandfather was Darth Vader. The knowledge corrupted him, making him believe that power and darkness were his birthright. He took the name Kylo Ren and served the dark side, even recovering Vader's burned helmet from Endor and speaking to it, seeking guidance from his grandfather's spirit. But Vader did not answer. Anakin Skywalker, redeemed and at peace in the Force, would not encourage his grandson's fall. The voice Kylo heard was not Vader, but the manipulation of Palpatine, who had survived his death through dark side sorcery and clone bodies. In the end, Kylo Ren also found redemption, turning back to the light just as his grandfather had. The pattern continued, the cycle of fall and redemption, darkness and light, playing out across generations. The story of Darth Vader teaches us that fear leads to terrible places. Anakin's fear of loss, His inability to accept death as a natural part of life drove him to commit atrocities in pursuit of power to prevent loss. But it also teaches us that no one is beyond redemption if they make the choice to return to the light. Even after decades of evil, even at the very end of his life, Anakin Skywalker found the strength to do what was right. The mask has become iconic, a symbol recognized across cultures and generations. When people see that black helmet, they remember the power of the dark side, but also the possibility of redemption. They remember that monsters can become men again if they have the courage to choose love over hate. Darth Vader's story is complete. From slave child to Jedi Knight to Sith Lord to redeemed hero, his journey encompasses the full spectrum of human experience. The Force moved through him in ways both terrible and wonderful, and in the end, the prophecy held true. He brought balance to the Force, not through power or violence, but through love. The legacy of Anakin Skywalker reminds us that our choices define us more than our circumstances. That falling into darkness does not mean we must remain there. That love is stronger than hate, even when hate seems all-consuming. The story of Darth Vader is the story of us all. Our struggles with fear and attachment, our capacity for both great good and great evil, our hope for redemption when we have fallen. The mechanical breathing has stopped. The helmet lies empty, but the lessons endure. Balance was restored, and Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one, became one with the Force.
If you enjoyed this deep dive into the complete history of Darth Vader, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. There are many more stories from the Star Wars galaxy to explore, tales of Sith and Jedi, heroes and villains, moments that shape the fate of countless worlds. The Force connects us all, and through these stories, we understand ourselves a little better. Until next time, may the Force be with you.